out here plugging away, literally plugs, get it? So we talked about the flats that we got in that are the small plugs and how we have to put them into larger cells. And at home, if you're doing this on a smaller scale, you might have planted some seeds and they're all sitting there and waiting to be put into larger containers. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit right now. I'm putting them into flats. And when I mean flats, it's just a plastic tray that they're held in. And then there's inserts that go into here like this. This one I kind of chopped apart a little bit. And then we fill this with soil and compact it a little bit because, as you know, when the soil gets wet, it starts shrinking or going down. So we like to pack it in there quite a bit and then water it down, poke holes in it like you can see I did here. I took my finger and just poked a hole in, and now I'm taking each one of these little plugs and putting it in that hole. However, these plugs, this is a Gazania seed that they must have broadcasted over top, and they're very tiny. So for instance, this little plug has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little plants in it. So for one plug, I just got five plants done out of it. Now, when you buy it, you can buy a whole flat from us, or you can buy an individual cell that has 4 plants in it. The reason why I take and separate out each of these plugs to make sure that there's only 1 plant in each cell, you might say, but wait, as a consumer, you want to have that double plant. And sure, that's a bonus, always is. But when you're in such a small cell with this much soil, they'd be competing against each other, and one would grow bigger and one would either dissolve away or they'd be fighting for that space. It's much easier at the small point to take them apart than it is to when they're larger and their roots are all combined really thing. So I'm just literally very gently just tearing them apart and getting all those roots down into the soil. As I'm planting up the plugs, I'm watering them first so that the plugs aren't going into dry soil. But I wanted to show you, this is a great example when Scott talks about watering something and saying, whether it's rain or whether you're watering it and that it's not going all the way down to come back later. Let me show you an example of that. So the rest of these have all been well watered and they're all absorbing. And let's water this one. So, okay, I've watered it. It's wet. But take a look when I put my finger in there to poke my hole. Do you see? That's all dry. The top is moist, but the bottom, when I pull up, is completely dry. Watch when I do one that's well watered. Nothing comes up. Do you see that? So that's the difference between watering something and coming back and watering it a little bit more, because you want it to start absorbing so that it will absorb more when you come back. You don't want to drown it right away and have it running all over the top. So just thought you'd like to know that info and see an example of it. Taking my finger, poking a hole in the middle, and then grabbing those little plugs and going right after it. So once I get these all in here and set, we're going to tag them so that we know each cell how much or what's in there. The tags are very informative. People put a lot of time into figuring out what to put on them. It tells you, the sun, it tells you the water, it tells you whether they're deer resistant, all that sort of good stuff. And the tags, everybody just kind of dismisses them quite a bit. But these little tags, there's a lot that goes into that. I know we just placed a tag order and it was thousands of dollars just for the tags to be put in with the plant for you to look at the picture to see what it's going to be. It sounds crazy, but if you didn't have that, you would be wondering, well, what's the plant's name? What's the variety? So you can see we're just, as I said, plugging away. trying to get them apart real gently. There are almost 2 different root systems in there, and they're not connected totally in twine. So that's what I'm doing, just checking each little guy. You can see those roots are nice and flexible. This one only has 1, so he's going to go right in, and then I just push in the soil a little bit and continue on. This one here, if you notice, some of the roots are showing. I try to get that covered up because you want those roots to start growing in the soil, and you don't want them to be too much on the top of the soil. So on our website, you can go on there. You can see different products and those web flats. I think he'll be putting those on for you to see the different sizes. This one here is considered an 804, and that's because there's the 4 cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 8 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's where the names come in differently. There's different sizes. This is more, these cells are not meant to be permanently grown in. These are starter plants meant to go into containers or pots or baskets. It just gives them, from this point, you wouldn't want to leave them in the flats like this because these dry out really, really fast, which is why we're trying to get these in the ground and starting to grow so they bloom when they should. For more tips and tricks, go to beatyourneighbor.com. We have a lot of information on there and how-to videos. Some of those questions that people ask all the time, we've done videos already. You can go on there and research that. Also, to really help us out, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video. There's a little bell notification. If you hit that, you'll get notified every time we have a new video. That way you stay up to date and know what we're up to.